The US government has won its appeal at the High Court in London that the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange should be extradited to stand trial in the US. Washington wants him to face charges for publishing classified military documents. The US Supreme Court is allowing abortion providers to pursue a legal challenge to a ban on most abortions in Texas. It means the fate of the Republican-backed measure that allows private citizens to enforce it now hangs in the balance. The winners of this year's Nobel Peace Prize, Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia, have received their awards at a ceremony in Oslo. People across Myanmar have stayed at home and off the streets as part of a silent strike against continuing military rule. Residents defied warnings from the army-run government to turn up for work.
We begin in Myanmar, where protesters have closed restaurants and shops as part of a silent strike meant to show opposition to the military junta that took charge of the country earlier this year. Pro-democracy activists and students initiated the demonstration to mark UN-designated Human Rights Day on Friday. An NHK crew saw empty streets and closed shops in the country's largest city, Yangon. A local human rights group says more than 1,300 people have been killed in crackdowns carried out by the military since the February coup that put them in power. Anger toward the military has grown since ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi received a 2-year sentence on Monday in what many citizens called a sham trial. Now to the coronavirus situation in Japan. Authorities confirmed 8 more cases of the Omicron variant on Friday, bumping up the total to 12 so far in the country. The 8 infected people arrived in Japan between late November and early December. All had been in Namibia, the United States, Mozambique, or the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 2 had been in close contact with the first known Omicron carrier in Japan, a Namibian diplomat. The government has imposed stricter border controls in response to the variant. Only Japanese nationals and foreigners with resident status are now allowed into Japan. Everyone who enters the country must quarantine for 3 to 10 days at a designated facility. The health minister says the government is trying to secure 10,000 rooms to isolate the people returning to Japan for the New Year's holidays. But experts are warning the downward trend in the number of new cases could be in jeopardy. Last year, the daily tally surged after people gathered for Christmas, year-end, and New Year's parties.
It's important for us to appreciate the risk of an Omicron variant outbreak in Japan. We should remind ourselves once again of the need for anti-infection measures before the New Year's holidays.
Authorities across Japan confirmed 146 new infections and 1 death on Friday. Tokyo had 25 new cases. The daily tally in the capital has stayed below 30 for the past 29 days. India has extended a ban on scheduled international passenger flights until January amid rising concerns over the Omicron variant. The country's aviation regulator had aimed to resume regular international flights starting December 15th, but on Thursday it extended the suspension until January 31st in response to the spread of the new variant. Officials say all international flights under existing agreements with more than 30 countries will continue to operate. India has reported 23 Omicron cases. Meanwhile, Singapore on Thursday confirmed its first locally transmitted Omicron case. Officials say the case is a Singaporean woman who works as a passenger service staff at Changi Airport. She had received a booster shot. Singapore had previously reported 3 Omicron cases. Officials warned there may be more infections, citing the high transmissibility and global spread of the new variant. Well, in South Korea, the situation is more serious, with the authorities reporting over 7,000 new cases for a 3rd straight day on Thursday. Officials say they're shortening the interval between the first 2 doses and a 3rd coronavirus booster shot to 3 months.
The situation is dire, and we appear set for a crisis. A rapid vaccination rollout is the top priority.
In addition to the pace of new infections, officials are concerned about the growing number of patients in serious condition. The latest figure was 852, the second highest ever tally in the country. The number of Omicron cases stood at 63. The interval between the first round of vaccinations and the booster was set at 4 months for people aged 60 and above and 5 months for everyone else. The government plans to start accepting reservations for booster jabs on Monday. Now for an update on last Saturday's devastating volcanic eruption in East Java province in Indonesia. A volcano expert is warning of another possible pyroclastic flow from Mount Semeru. The eruption caused a deadly pyroclastic flow, which is a dense mixture of superheated ash, lava, and gas. It inundated residential areas at the foot of the volcano. Authorities say 46 people have so far been confirmed dead, and 12 people are missing. Volcanologist Surono is the former head of the Center for Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation. He said a 2 square kilometer lava dome had formed on the 3,600-meter volcano. He added heavy rain caused the lava dome to collapse and produce a devastating pyroclastic flow.
Heavy rain was partly to blame for the collapse, as it eroded the lava dome. The pyroclastic flow was 400 degrees Celsius when it hit residential areas. It was moving at 200 kilometers per hour, which made it impossible for residents to flee.
Surono is warning there may be another pyroclastic flow, citing that part of the lava dome remains on the mountain. He's urging people to stay away from rivers that flow from Mount Semeru during the rainy season. The U.S. government is launching an initiative to promote the status of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. It comes amid an alarming rise in hate crimes during the pandemic.
The president has charged the initiative with advancing a whole-of-government agenda that backs up our support for AA and NHPIs with concrete action to advance equity, justice, and opportunity.
I would now like to turn the meeting.
Prominent Asian American officials made the announcement on Thursday. The plan is to revise federal policies and services that are hard for Asian Americans to access. Officials said Asian Americans often struggle to report crimes to police or access public services because of language barriers. They also want to use education to promote an understanding of other cultures, languages, and historical experiences. The project will also work with state governments and others to analyze information on racially motivated violence and harassment. Police in New York City say attacks against Asians have risen by more than 400% over the past year. U.S. President Joe Biden had strong words of support for Ukraine as Russia masses troops near the country's border. Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agreed to seek a diplomatic solution to escalating tensions. The pair spoke for over an hour by phone on Thursday. The White House later issued a statement saying the two leaders called on Russia to de-escalate tensions and agreed that diplomacy is the best way to make meaningful progress on conflict resolution. The statement also says Biden expressed deep concerns about Russia's aggressive actions towards Ukraine. Biden reiterated that America and its allies would respond with strong economic and other measures in the event of a further military intervention. Biden followed up with a phone call to the leaders of 9 NATO states in Eastern Europe. They confirmed they'll work together against Russia. The Japanese anime studio that makes the popular Demon Slayer series and its president have been found guilty of evading the equivalent of about $1.2 million in taxes. Last year's sequel movie became the highest-grossing anime film of all time. Prosecutors accused the firm Ufotable and Kondo Hikaru of hiding nearly $4 million of the company's income from 2015 to 2018. The Tokyo District Court passed the ruling on Friday. The presiding judge said the studio repeatedly failed to post some of its earnings despite remaining hugely profitable. The judge stressed the seriousness of the crime, but noted Ufotable had filed an amended tax return. He then ordered the studio to pay a fine worth in excess of $260,000. He also handed down a 20-month prison sentence to the president, suspended for 3 years. Weather officials say Japan will see heavier than usual snowfall this winter, mainly on the Sea of Japan side of the country. This is due to a persistent La Nina weather pattern. La Nina results from unusually cool ocean temperatures in the equatorial Pacific Ocean region. It's also linked to phenomena such as flooding and droughts around the world. Japan's meteorological agency announced last month that a La Nina appeared to be underway. On Friday, the agency said sea surface temperatures remained low. When a La Nina develops, temperatures in Japan tend to be lower in winter as cold air is more likely to flow in. During a La Nina event in January, heavy snowfall left many drivers stranded in their cars in a central region of the main island of Honshu facing the Japan Sea. The winter of 2017 to 2018 saw similar occurrences and several accidents involving people trying to clear rooftops after heavy snowfall persisted over a long period. The Central Rockies in the United States should have seen snow by this point, but it's been a dry season so far. Our meteorologist Sakamori tells us that changes are on the way. She has a look at the forecast in World Weather.
Hello there. There have been 232 days since Denver last saw measurable snowfall. It has been exceptionally warm. This is the second longest streak in recorded history, but a change is coming. On Friday, snow is finally falling over the Denver area. Talking about snow, nearly 50 centimeters possible over British Columbia into Saturday, and from Friday to next Tuesday, Northern California might see about 3 meters of snowfall. Meanwhile, there will be a line of rain stretching from the south towards the north along the Mississippi River Valley. There is the potential for tornadoes. Even nighttime twisters could occur. Temperatures are going to be on the warmer side across the eastern seaboard, 23 in the U.S. capital, but 13 in Chicago. Houston had a record high temperature for the month of December. It was 30 degrees on Thursday, slightly cooling down. 24 is in the forecast on your Saturday. On Sunday early morning, the Honolulu Marathon will be taking place. As opposed to earlier this week, Honolulu will see calmer conditions. It looks like Honolulu might see a chance of rainfall on Sunday morning, but it's going to be calmer compared to what we saw earlier this week. South of Perth, we are seeing bushfires. Take a look at this impressive video. Massive fire is raging in Margaret River, the state's famous winds and surfing region. At least 6,000 hectares have burned, and strong winds are making it difficult for firefighters to control the blaze. More than 100 personnel have been activated to deal with the situation. It looks like conditions will be slightly cooling down across the Perth area, but across the southeastern Australia, you'll see temperatures rising into the 30-degree mark in Adelaide as well as Melbourne on Sunday as well as Monday. That's it for me. Have a nice weekend.